You think you are weak, but you are not. You are simply tethered to what numbs you. You grip what softens your edge and call it safety. But safety has never forged discipline. Safety has never taught stillness. What you call weakness is the consequence of seeking warmth when the cold was meant to awaken you. When I speak of war, I speak not of armies, but of the self. The battlefield is within. The enemy is what clings to your habits. And the first victory is silence. The silence where excuses die, where comfort withers under scrutiny. You have been trained to believe that peace is ease, that ease is desirable. But the mind sharpened by ease is never ready. It breaks at the first strike, and when the storm arrives, it finds you asleep. There is nothing honorable in softness. Compassion is not softness. Mercy is not surrender. What endures is form, and form is only found through pressure. Pressure reveals what resists and what dissolves. You cannot harden steel without fire, and yet you seek the warmth without the flame. That is your illusion, that you can grow without burning. Look at your daily rituals. Observe where your time bleeds. It is not weakness, it is allegiance to the familiar. What you practice becomes your strategy, and if you practice indulgence, you will react with delay. You will hesitate, you will fold, not because you are incapable, but because you are untrained in discomfort. The true warrior does not crave hardship, but he walks into it without flinching. He does not require suffering, but he does not flee from it. His strength is not in brute force, but in refusal. Refusal to be governed by desire, by impulse, by the soothing hand that lulls vigilance to sleep. The warrior is awake when others dream. I do not glorify pain. I glorify clarity. Pain is not the teacher. Clarity is. Pain simply reveals what you still cling to. If you cannot let go of comfort, you will obey the voice that seeks it. And once you obey, you will serve. You will serve every fear dressed as logic. You will bow to hesitation, second-guessing, and noise. Do not mistake comfort for reward. The reward is readiness. The reward is movement without noise. When the moment arrives, the one who has practiced stillness does not calculate. He executes. Strategy is the art of choosing in advance. The weak wait for certainty. The strong prepare for uncertainty. What I offer is not peace, but precision. You do not need to be fearless. You need to be clean. Clean from addiction to distraction. Clean from softness that parades as kindness. Clean from narratives that tell you you're not ready, as if readiness is bestowed by comfort. You are ready the moment you stop needing proof. You are prepared the moment you stop asking to be spared. Do not seek rest before you have earned momentum. Rest is not granted. It is commanded after action. Those who retreat before engagement do not rest, they rust. The enemy is not outside you. The enemy is the pattern that whispers, you can skip this. The skipped habit, the skipped discipline, the skipped confrontation. These are the battles that decide the war, not the grand gesture, but the small surrender. And so I say to you, you are not weak. You are simply untrained in letting go. You have confused safety with silence. But silence is not the absence of sound. It is the absence of noise. Noise comes from within, from the mind's refusal to be still, from the hunger for validation, from the thirst for outcomes. When you drop these, you return to clarity. Clarity is power, but clarity only visits the mind that no longer runs. You run from boredom. You run from repetition. You run from the plainness of effort. But the master does not. The master drills the same strike. the same stance, the same breath, until it is no longer a technique. It is a nature. You do not rise by variety. You rise by mastery. And mastery is born in stillness. Comfort will seduce you with choices. Discipline removes them. The one who wins does not need more options. He needs fewer distractions. Simplicity is a weapon. Learn to wield it. You want to be powerful? Then strip away what weakens you. Not because it is evil, but because it is unnecessary. Every unnecessary action divides your energy. Every divided energy reduces your strike. And in war, a single precise strike ends the battle. Let go of the craving to feel ready. Readiness is not a feeling, it is a posture. Adopt it, and the body will follow. Wait for it, and the body will stall. What you call fear is often the signal that your comfort is being threatened. Good. Let it burn. What you call hesitation is the symptom of too much comfort, and not enough clarity. And clarity is purchased in discomfort. If I could give you one gift, it would be this: the eyes to see every hardship as a sharpening stone. Not because hardship is noble, but because you are not. Not yet. You are clay pretending to be steel, and until you endure the flame, you will break when it matters. You were not born soft. You were taught softness. Now you must unlearn it. Not by rejecting ease, but by disciplining your taste. The warrior does not hate comfort. He simply does not kneel to it. Discipline is not cruelty. It is mercy without indulgence. It is the art of drawing a clean line between what serves your rise and what slows your step. A man who waits for motivation is already lost. The disciplined man moves without applause. He acts without being asked. He does not need a reason to be sharp. Sharpness is his default. You waste strength asking why when the answer is action. You seek permission when you were born with the right to move. The battlefield does not explain itself. It does not slow for your emotions. It does not yield to your dreams. It only answers to presence, to command, to clarity. And so must you. If your life feels heavy, it is not because of the weight. It is because you carry what you should have set down long ago. The expectations, the fantasies, the wounds you protect instead of release. The path is not difficult. It is cluttered. Strip it bare. What remains when you subtract comfort is not suffering. It is simplicity. Simplicity is a battlefield of its own. Few survive it. Most return to the noise, to the ornaments of busyness, to the illusion of progress. But you, if you are to know power, must outlast that illusion. You must hold the line when your impulses beg you to abandon it. The modern mind is trained to flee boredom, but boredom is the front gate of mastery. On the other side of monotony is depth. The shallow run from it. The strong remain. They repeat. They refine. They evolve. One cut, 1,000 times, until it carves through hesitation itself. You think discipline is force. It is not. It is elegance. The elegance of knowing what must be done and doing it before your mind can delay you. It is knowing that the war is not fought when the enemy arrives. It is fought every morning when you rise, every evening when you choose solitude over noise, every moment when you act from clarity, not compulsion. Do not confuse fatigue with failure. Fatigue is feedback. It speaks. Listen to it, but do not obey it. You can be tired and still move. You can be uncertain and still strike. There is no rule that says hesitation must precede action. You are not your hesitation. You are the one who observes it and acts anyway. The attachment to comfort is ancient. It is the echo of survival. But you were not made to survive. You were made to sharpen, to command, to clear the fog. Survival clings. Mastery releases. Comfort seeks to protect the past. Strategy positions for the future. Choose one. You are not here to feel better. You are here to see clearer, to act cleaner, to move with weight and stillness. The world will not hand you control. You must claim it by removing all that scatters your will. The need to be liked, the fear of missing out, the addiction to updates, to novelty, to validation. Burn them. Burn what numbs you, not because you hate it, but because you honor your clarity more. This is not asceticism. It is precision. I do not ask you to live in suffering. I ask you to cut what distracts from your strategy. That is war. That is love of purpose. The disciplined man is not rigid. He is fluid with form. He adjusts, but does not abandon. He bends, but does not break. Because his center is not ego. His center is silence. And silence cannot be manipulated. It cannot be provoked. It cannot be moved without consent. Silence is the ultimate command. In a world screaming for your attention, stillness is rebellion. In a culture obsessed with pace, clarity is dominance. Your strength is not in movement. It is in movement directed by design. Random effort is noise. Measured effort is war. You do not need to explain your path. The one who explains too much is still unsure. Walk it, without needing applause, without asking for understanding. You are not here to be understood. You are here to execute. What weakens you is not resistance. It is fragmentation. Too many priorities, too many opinions, too many battles chosen by impulse, not strategy. The strong man says no, often, with precision, with calm, with finality. He protects his energy like a fortress, not out of fear, but out of design. Everything in your life is either sharpening your edge or dulling it. People, habits, thoughts. Cut ruthlessly. Keep only what reinforces your form. What does not serve your clarity serves your enemy. There is no greater enemy than the unnecessary. It wears the face of comfort. It whispers that tomorrow is better, that rest is owed, that pleasure is balance. But the warrior knows, pleasure without victory is erosion. You do not get sharper by indulging. You get softer, and softness has never won a war. You must become intimate with pressure, not frantic, not romantic, but fluent. Pressure is not chaos, it is a test, not of strength, but of structure. If you cannot hold form under pressure, you have no form at all. Pressure is the only honest mirror. And when you stand in it, eyes forward, shoulders quiet, you will realize the truth, that you were never weak. You were simply diluted, spread thin across distractions, pulled in too many directions. But in you is the line, the blade, the strategy. You were made for command, not comfort. Observe how quickly the mind creates stories when discomfort arises. It calls challenge unfair. It calls structure imprisonment. It calls delay a disaster. But these are not truths. They are defense mechanisms of a mind accustomed to ease, a mind that has forgotten how to endure stillness. Stillness is not stagnation. Stillness is power unspent. It is readiness coiled. It is vision untouched by impulse. The impatient strike before the enemy reveals his weakness. The calm wait for the opening, then strike once. Precision over pace. Stillness over show. You want to feel in control. But control is not about gripping tightly. It is about clarity so sharp you don't need to grip at all. You move only when needed. You speak only when the words are shaped by purpose. You act only when the outcome has already been determined by preparation. That is control. Comfort will tell you that you deserve to feel good. Strategy asks, what must be done regardless of how it feels? One is a question of entitlement. The other is a question of execution. Choose the second, and you will rise. Look at your habits, the smallest ones, how you begin the morning, how you handle delay, how you respond when no one is watching. These are not small. These are the battlefield. The war is not out there. It is within your repetition. Do not seek grand victories. Seek clean habits. A man who masters his hour masters his day. A man who masters his day masters his momentum. A man who masters his momentum does not chase discipline. He becomes it. The world does not shape him. He shapes the world through consistent command of self. You say you want strength, but you avoid repetition. You avoid silence. You avoid the unglamorous path. Then what is it you truly want? Applause? Comfort disguised as progress? You cannot rise while kneeling before comfort. Your will is not built by intensity. It is built by consistency. You do not need fire, you need form. The form of returning again and again to what sharpens you. The form of saying no when your body says yes. The form of ignoring the voice that pleads for ease. This is not punishment. This is training. Train not to feel powerful, but to remain immovable when power is tested. Train not to intimidate others, but to remain unshaken when you are alone. Train not for validation, but because you understand that victory favors the prepared, not the talented. There is no perfect day to begin, no right time to commit. The path reveals itself only after you walk it. Strategy is not found in thinking, it is revealed in action. Begin. Begin again. Begin without comfort. Begin without applause. Begin with precision. That is how war is won. The undisciplined man confuses pleasure with peace. But peace is not something you find. It is something you forge, through alignment, through refusal, through daily practice. Peace is not soft. It is stable. It is sharp. It is non-reactive. You must let go of your identity if it was built in comfort, because that version of you will collapse when discomfort enters. Build a new one, forged in repetition, formed in clarity, tempered in silence. Speak less, do more. Let your execution become your language. Let your habits speak louder than your dreams. Let your presence carry weight, not because of how loud it is, but because of how still it stands. The mind addicted to comfort cannot lead. It follows urges. It obeys cravings. It retreats at the first sign of pressure. But pressure is not your enemy. Pressure is the gate. The only way through is discipline. Discipline is not something you summon. It is something you design. You design it by building environments that demand clarity. You remove the friction between your goals and your actions. You eliminate what feeds the lazy voice inside you. You remove the choices that weaken your posture. Every action is a signal to yourself. When you avoid the hard thing, you reinforce softness. When you choose discomfort on purpose, you sharpen your edge. Life watches. The body watches. The mind remembers. And over time, you become the sum of what you tolerate. So tolerate nothing that dulls you. Reject what scatters your will. Reject what numbs your instincts. Reject the narrative that says you must feel ready. You don't. You must act with form. The feeling follows the form, never the other way around. Those who chase motivation never arrive. Those who master momentum never stop. You will not always be inspired, but you can always be intentional. When you train without needing to feel ready, you build resilience. When you show up without applause, you build mastery. When you hold your ground without needing attention, you build power. quiet power, power that does not need to declare itself. Comfort wants you loud and fragile. Discipline wants you quiet and unshakable. Your strength does not depend on ideal conditions. It depends on whether you continue, when it is raining, when it is late, when you are tired, when the world says pause. The enemy hopes you need comfort to function. Let him hope. Then strike while he sleeps. The one who needs favorable conditions is already defeated. The one who trains in the storm becomes the storm. He does not ask for shelter. He becomes the structure. He does not ask for peace. He becomes unmoved. Victory is not granted to the talented. It is granted to the prepared, the one who rehearsed when no one watched, the one who studied when others slept, the one who refined his posture, his breath, his decision, not once, but until they became nature. You admire strength, but you avoid what creates it. You praise discipline, but resist its demands. You want to rise without sacrifice. That is not strategy, that is fantasy. No form becomes sharp without friction. No clarity emerges without shedding comfort. Shed what makes you slow. Shed what makes you soft. Shed the belief that ease is the reward. The reward is capacity. The reward is command. The reward is the ability to face chaos and remain exact. The mind does not become exact by accident. It becomes exact through reduction. Reduce your dependencies. Reduce your excuses. Reduce the time between decision and action. That is speed. That is discipline. That is power. And it begins in the mind, not in what you do once, but in what you allow always. When others rest, you refine. When others doubt, you observe. When others panic, you execute. Because you have seen all of it before. You have rehearsed the crisis in your stillness. You do not react. You reveal what was already built. You do not need to know what tomorrow holds. You need only to be unmoved by it. You do not need to predict the battle. You need to prepare your form so completely that no battle can break it. That is the essence of strategic command. To be so aligned that uncertainty becomes irrelevant. Do not confuse motion with progress. The undisciplined man moves in circles. The disciplined man moves in lines, direct, efficient, deliberate. Motion can be distraction. Discipline is direction. When your strategy is clear, you do not negotiate with chaos. You let it scream, you let it rage, but you do not move. Because your mind is not hired by noise. Your time is not available to the undisciplined. Your actions are not for sale. A man who obeys every impulse is a puppet. A man who governs his impulses is a weapon. Let your day be governed by decision, not feeling. Let your energy be spent on precision, not approval. Let your life be organized around one command. I move only with intention. You are not here to feel in control. You are here to become it. Comfort will tempt you to stop. It will whisper that you've done enough, that you've earned ease. But the path does not end with feeling better. It ends when form replaces effort. When who you are no longer requires motivation to act with excellence. You must become automatic, but not unconscious, still, deliberate, exact. You must reach the point where discipline is not a chore, but a signature, a way of breathing, a way of responding, a way of being. If your discipline is based on punishment, it will break. But if it is based on identity, it will endure. You must become the kind of person who does not need to decide each time, who does not argue with himself, who does not seek comfort where action is required. The disciplined man does not wait for the world to change. He becomes the change. He becomes the standard. And in doing so, He no longer fears outcomes because he trusts his form. He trusts his training. He trusts that when the enemy arrives, there is nothing left to add, only to reveal. Reveal what has been forged in silence, in the dark hours, in the repeated refusal to fold. That is your edge. Not talent, not intensity, not inspiration, but the quiet, ruthless decision to keep moving forward without applause. The path will not get easier. You will get stronger, but only if you abandon the hope that ease is coming. It is not. What is coming is challenge, chaos, friction, and that is not the problem. That is the opportunity. Every moment of discomfort is a test. Are you attached to how it feels, or are you loyal to what must be done? If you hesitate, the enemy has already found your weakness. If you delay, the window has already closed. If you flinch, the advantage is lost. But if you remain clear, exact, still, you do not need to outmatch the world. You need only to outlast it. And that begins not with strength, but with subtraction. Subtract what does not serve your edge. Subtract the need to explain. Subtract the stories you tell to justify delay. Subtract the fear of missing out. Subtract the need to feel good before you act. Every subtraction is a sharpening. You are not overwhelmed because of what you face. You are overwhelmed because of what you carry. Carry less. Not because you are incapable, but because clarity demands emptiness. The full hand cannot hold a weapon. The full mind cannot see the strike. To move with form, you must move with focus. To move with focus, you must move with less. Cut what does not contribute to movement. Cut what adds noise without adding power. Cut what softens your step, your voice, your will. Your mind is your kingdom. If you do not guard its gates, enemies enter disguised as thoughts. Thoughts that say you need rest before you begin. Thoughts that say a little indulgence won't matter. Thoughts that say next time. There is no next time. There is now. And what you do now becomes the edge you hold, or the weakness that breaks you. You say you want change, but change begins with discomfort. If you reject discomfort, you reject transformation. The man who transforms is not the man who waits for better conditions. He is the one who moves through the fire with form intact. The one who lets pain refine him, not define him. The pain you avoid is the path you need, not because pain is sacred, but because what lies beyond it is. Comfort guards that gate. To pass, you must choose clarity over ease. That is the true discipline, not just to suffer, but to suffer with direction, to hurt without losing aim, to bend without breaking form. Discipline is the ability to remember your aim when the world pulls on your attention. It is not rigid, it is focused. A river flows around stone, but never forgets the sea. So too must you move, adaptive, but not distracted, calm, but not passive, silent, but never asleep. You were not built to chase everything. You were built to pursue one thing well. That is how greatness is forged, not in frenzy, but in unwavering direction. Let others scatter. You remain. Let others react. You calculate. Let others indulge. You refine. Your enemy is not ahead of you. Your enemy is within you, in the voice that rationalizes delay, in the craving for recognition, in the attachment to what once made you feel strong, but now makes you slow. That version of you must die. It is not your ally. It is your anchor. Kill what makes you slow. Kill it without guilt. Guilt is the voice of comfort asking to be spared. There is no mercy for what threatens your clarity. Sentiment has no place in execution. You can grieve after the battle. During the battle, you move. And this is a battle, not against others, but against your lesser self. The part of you that negotiates with comfort, that argues with progress, that stalls under pressure. Do not debate with that voice. Outlast it. Starve it. Replace it with silence and movement. Each day you do the work, that voice weakens. Each day you keep your form, that voice dissolves. Until one day you no longer hear it, not because it is gone, but because it no longer governs. You have taken the throne. You do not speak from weakness anymore. You speak from clarity. And when you do, your words carry weight. Not because they are loud, but because they are earned. Spoken not from theory, but from discipline. People do not follow the loudest. They follow the clearest, the calmest, the most unshakable. Become that. Not by imitating strength, but by removing what hides your real power. It is already within you, buried under layers of comfort, of noise, of craving. Remove them. That is your only task. And once removed, hold the line. Do not return to softness once you've tasted steel. Do not forget your form when the pressure eases. Discipline is not just about surviving the storm. It is about remaining exact when the skies clear. Because ease is just another enemy. It arrives wearing peace, but it dulls your edge. It tells you you've done enough, that your standard can now drop. But the warrior knows the standard never drops. It is not a burden. It is the source of freedom. You are free the moment you are no longer ruled by comfort. You are strong the moment you are no longer fed by emotion. You are powerful the moment you act without needing applause, permission, or promise. That is the path, quiet, focused, uncompromising, and it begins not tomorrow, not when you feel like it, but now, in this breath, in this moment. Cut what does not belong, hold what remains with both hands, and move. There is no virtue in delay. Waiting does not make you ready. Movement does. Waiting is often the mask of fear, painted with the language of preparation. But true preparation is action. Quiet, exact, repeated. You do not need more time. You need fewer excuses. You ask when the right moment will arrive. I ask when you will decide. Moments do not make warriors. Decisions do. And decisions are not made once. They are made again and again, especially when the old voice returns, the one that whispers of softness, of comfort, of later. Silence it. Not with argument. With action. The man who argues with his impulses has already conceded control. The man who acts without dialogue wins. There is no inner debate. There is only direction. Direction must become your law, not mood, not energy, not emotion. These are guests, transient, unreliable. But direction, forged in clarity, is a constant. Let it lead. And when you lead yourself, the world will begin to respond differently. Not because it has changed, but because your posture has. People respect stillness more than noise. They follow the one who does not chase, who does not waver, who does not explain. Your authority is not in volume. It is in restraint. Your strength is not in domination. It is in form. You do not need to overpower others. You need only to master yourself. That is the rarest form of strength, and the one most feared. The disciplined man has nothing to prove. He does not need to convince. He does not seek approval. He moves from strategy. He chooses his words, his time, his battles, and he never asks the world to go easy. He simply becomes harder to move. Do not envy those who are loud. Envy the one who moves without noise and leaves no opening, the one who appears simple, yet holds layers of precision. That is your aim, not attention, but impact. And impact is created by those who act in silence until their presence becomes undeniable. You have misunderstood power. Power is not aggression. It is alignment. A man fully aligned needs no force to influence the world around him. He becomes gravity. Things shift when he enters, not because he demands it, but because he is unmoved. To be unmoved, you must be empty of craving. Craving is the source of your weakness. Craving for praise, for outcome, for ease. You are not made to crave. You are made to command. Command begins within. Before you lead others, you must learn to lead your breath. Before you shape the world, you must learn to shape your hours. Every undisciplined hour is a battlefield lost, and enough lost hours becomes a lost life. You want a different life? Then stop feeding the one that delays you. Stop serving the identity that prefers softness. Kill the version of yourself that thinks motivation is sacred. Replace it with the one who moves whether he feels like it or not. He who moves without needing to feel it, he becomes unstoppable. He is not the loudest in the room. He is not the most admired, but he is the one who does not break when the room turns against him, because he never needed their favor to begin. Comfort is a contract. Break it. It offers you short-term pleasure in exchange for long-term erosion. It tells you to relax today and rise tomorrow. But tomorrow never comes for the one who is addicted to now. That is the trap. Comfort sells you escape, but delivers decay. What is ease but a slow erosion of edge? What is convenience but the death of form in installments? What is softness but a promise that asks nothing, demands nothing, achieves nothing? You want a life of weight? Then carry what builds you. Carry the repetitions. Carry the solitude. Carry the silence. Carry the refusal to fold. Not because it feels good, but because it makes you real. There is nothing noble about struggling for the sake of it, but there is everything noble in choosing the hard path that leads to command. The one few can stay on. The one lined with repetition, boredom, pressure, and no applause. That is the one that sharpens. And sharpening is the only path. If you are not sharpening, you are dulling. There is no neutral, no middle. You either move toward clarity or drift into confusion. And confusion is the climate in which weakness grows. Do not negotiate with confusion. Cut through it with action. Do not linger in indecision. Strike. Do not explain your pace. Show it. Let the edge of your movement silence all doubt, and let your silence become the voice they hear the loudest. You have no obligation to ease, only to clarity. You have no allegiance to comfort, only to form. The rest is noise. Let others choose noise. Let others delay. Let others seek peace before discipline. You choose the strike. You choose silence. You choose to be unmoved by the storm because you have become the calm center within it. That is the art of war, the true art, the war within, the one you must win before you command anything outside yourself. And it begins with the quiet death of comfort and the silent birth of discipline. Discipline is not found in a moment. It is not summoned. It is built, brick by brick, decision by decision, silence by silence. It is what remains after you strip away the noise, the craving, the need to feel good before you do what must be done. It is not emotion. It is not performance. It is the art of showing up clean. Clean of doubt, clean of delay, clean of explanation. If you still seek to explain why you struggle, you are still loyal to comfort. The disciplined man explains nothing. He moves. His movement becomes his answer. His results become his language. His silence becomes his presence. When he enters, the room shifts, not because of what he says, but because of what he no longer needs. You were not made for easy. You were not made to be understood by everyone. You were not made to remain in the shape the world gave you. You were made to take form, to shape yourself. And that shaping hurts. But it does not break. It carves. And what it carves is a mind that no longer flinches, a body that no longer negotiates, a will that no longer leans on motivation, but stands on principle, a spirit that does not crave reward, but lives in readiness. Readiness is not a feeling. It is an identity. You become ready not by waiting, but by practicing what you would do if it were time. And then one day, it is. And you do not tremble. You do not freeze. You do not ask. You execute. The world belongs to the executor, not the dreamer. The one who rises early, not because it's comfortable, but because it's necessary. The one who moves in silence, not because he hides, but because he focuses. The one who does not seek praise because he knows. Praise changes nothing. Form changes everything. If your strength depends on approval, you are weak. If your action depends on conditions, you are fragile. If your movement depends on inspiration, you are late. But if your strength rises from refusal, the refusal to fold, to delay, to doubt, then you become what few are, ungoverned by emotion, unshaken by challenge, unbent by opinion. And that is what wins wars, not volume, not talent, not fortune, but presence. The presence of the one who has trained himself not to react, but to see, not to rush, but to move without pause when the time comes. Your comfort is clever. It will dress as healing. It will pretend to be balance. It will offer you softness and call it love. But love that weakens you is not love. Love that excuses delay is not care. Love that pulls you from clarity is betrayal in disguise. You must love your clarity more than you love your comfort. You must love your standard more than your feelings. You must love your silence more than their applause. And when you do, something changes. Not in them, in you. You no longer require. You no longer chase. You no longer wobble. You become centered. And from center, you command. What is command but ownership over your state, over your actions, over your direction? It is not about control of others. It is about control of response, of posture, of energy. And the one who commands himself commands the battlefield, no matter the terrain. You think war is about strategy, but strategy is born from vision, and vision is born from discipline. Discipline is not the enemy of freedom. It is the creator of it. Without it, you drift. With it, you direct. The undisciplined are slaves to their own emotions. The disciplined are kings of their own hour. Master your hour, and your day follows. Master your day, and your life bows to you. But do not mistake effort for alignment. You can work hard and still be blind. You can move constantly and go nowhere. You can speak often and say nothing. Alignment is not about force, it is about exactness. And exactness requires subtraction. Subtraction of comfort. Subtraction of options. Subtraction of the belief that you must feel good before you act with greatness. You do not need more, you need less, and you need it with clarity. Do not expand until you've mastered contraction. Do not reach until you've learned to root. Do not act for outcome. Act for precision. You are not behind. You are just scattered. Pull your energy inward. Focus it. Sharpen it. Let it become unbearable in its quiet intensity. And then, when the moment opens, release it. One move, one strike, clean. That is the way. The undisciplined man waits for alignment. The disciplined man becomes it. He does not wait for his thoughts to settle, he settles them. He does not wait for fear to leave, he moves alongside it. He does not wait for calm, he brings it with him, in every step, in every breath, in every strike. This is not talent. It is not genius. It is design. The design of a man who has chosen to become more than his comforts, more than his excuses, more than the noise that once governed his time. You do not need to be extraordinary. You need to be consistent. You do not need to be perfect. You need to be clean. Clean of excess. Clean of inner negotiation. Clean of external dependence. The fewer the moving parts, the fewer the points of failure. And you, if you are to win, must become a weapon so simple, it cannot be broken. Complexity is not strength, it is exposure. The world will offer you more tools, more input, more voices. But the one who wins strips everything down to what is necessary, then masters it so completely that nothing else is required. Not 10 tools, just one, wielded with precision. Not 10 plans, just one, refined through repetition. Repetition is the gate. Do not run from boredom. Run from distraction. Boredom is a gift. It is the beginning of depth. What you repeat, you master. What you avoid, you remain ruled by. And most avoid boredom because it reveals how undisciplined they truly are. Sit with it. Do the thing again and again, until it no longer requires force, until it becomes nature. That is how warriors are built, not through novelty, but through return. Relentless, quiet return. You ask for change, but avoid the repetition that produces it. You chase new, thinking it brings growth. It brings noise. Growth comes from refinement, not variety. What is mastery but the art of staying? Staying in the silence, staying in the form, staying in the tension between where you are and who you must become. Those who leave that tension too early stay soft. Those who remain become sharp. Discipline is the willingness to stay until the work is done, not until it feels good, not until it is interesting, until it is done. That is how empires are built, in the silence between excitement and completion. You must begin to see comfort for what it is, a trap wearing silk. It feels smooth, it feels earned, but it binds. It wraps itself around your potential until your edge becomes a pillow and your ambition becomes a lullaby. And you sleep, not because you are tired, but because you are unchallenged. Challenge yourself before the world does. Sharpen yourself before the enemy appears. Train yourself so that even in chaos, you remain exact. That is the test, not whether you succeed when it's easy, but whether you hold form when it's not. Not whether you act when you're motivated, but whether you move when there's nothing left but will. Will is the last line. When everything else fades, the plan, the motivation, the applause, will remains, and it speaks one sentence: continue anyway. Continue when your legs are tired, when your voice shakes, when your mind pleads for ease, when the comfort you killed returns, dressed in memory, asking to be let in. Let it pass. Let it knock. But do not open the door. The man you are becoming has no place for softness disguised as reward. The man you are becoming keeps his promises in silence. He does not broadcast his evolution. He proves it in posture. Posture that does not lean forward to chase. Posture that does not lean back to retreat. Posture that stands straight, in alignment, in awareness, in calm readiness to act. There is a reason why the strongest do not speak often. They are not distracted. Their words have weight because they are measured. Their presence is felt because they are exact. Their discipline is evident because they never need to say they have it. You must become like this, not for appearance but for power. Power that does not waver. Power that does not need attention. Power that is not explosive but continuous. Silent, relentless, uninterested in emotion, devoted only to form. When form becomes your focus, everything changes. Your habits become decisions, not accidents. Your presence becomes steady, not reactive. Your victories become quiet, not theatrical. And your life becomes proof that comfort was never required, only clarity. Clarity begins now, in this breath, in this refusal, in this step forward. Not grand, not emotional, just exact. That is how you win. Not once, always. A man ruled by clarity does not fear the future. He shapes it, not by wishing, not by force, but by preparing in silence, in stillness, without ceremony. You do not need to be noticed to make impact. The arrow flies because it was drawn back, not because it made noise. Draw back, not to delay, but to align, not to hide, but to sharpen. Pull yourself out of the noise, out of the pace they sell as purpose. Come back to what is simple, what is heavy, what is necessary. All else can fall away. You are not made to carry everything. You are made to carry only what strengthens your strike. Every task, every tool, every voice, ask, does this reinforce my aim or distract from it? If it distracts, discard it. No apology, no explanation. You owe your clarity, nothing less. Those who keep everything break under pressure. Those who keep only what matters cut through. You must become ruthless, not toward others, but toward what dulls you. Ruthless toward the stories you've inherited. Ruthless toward the language of later. Ruthless toward your own comfort. Comfort is not a sin, but worshiping it is. You are not here to feel good all the time. You are here to become immovable. You are here to replace reaction with observation, chaos with calm, comfort with command. That trade is always available. Most never make it, because they never see it as a trade. They think they can have both, but both cannot exist in the same vessel. Either your discipline leads, or your craving does. Either your clarity speaks, or your impulse does. Either your silence carries weight, or your noise carries weakness. This is not about being better than others. This is about being better than you were when comfort made your choices, when ease decided your timing, when fear dictated your movement. That version must fall, not slowly, now. Let your new standard be non-negotiable. Let your new habits speak louder than your old name. Let your presence change the temperature of every room, not because of what you say, but because of what you no longer tolerate. This is not motivation. It is war, the inner war. And it is not fought with emotion. It is fought with refusal. Refusal to return to softness. Refusal to live in delay. Refusal to need permission to move. You do not need to be loud to be strong. You do not need to be aggressive to be immovable. You do not need to fight to win. You need only to remain in form while others collapse. And they will, because most have built their lives on preference, on stimulation, on escape. And when the storm comes, preference dissolves, but principle endures. You must live by principle, not because it's noble, but because it works. Because when everything is uncertain, your code is not. When everything is falling, your line holds. When every voice around you screams for comfort, yours speaks only once. Continue. Continue without reward, without promise, without anyone noticing. That is power. Quiet, disciplined power. the kind that no one can take because no one gave it to you. You built it when you refused to fold. And that refusal becomes your rhythm. Not resistance, but rhythm. Like a drum in the dark, steady, exact, unchanging. Let them be unpredictable. Let them be chaotic. Let them seek your reaction. But you remain still. Still is not passive. Still is not weak. Still is the highest form of readiness. It is energy conserved, not scattered. Focus collected, not leaked. And when the moment comes, not if, but when, you move once. Clean, quiet, complete. There is no struggle, no panic, no search for strength. You already held it, because you never needed the comfort that took it away. Do not celebrate too soon. Victory is not a moment. It is a posture sustained. There is no final triumph, only continued readiness. The day you believe you've arrived is the day softness returns, disguised, subtle, whispering that you deserve to slow down, that you've earned the right to forget the edge that got you here. Never forget the edge. Your edge is not gifted. It is guarded. Every day, every hour, through choices so small they're invisible to most. Wake early, breathe slow, say no. Move without audience. Choose weight over speed. Choose silence over opinion. Choose simplicity over excess. These are not tricks. They are shields, weapons, armor, and the war is never over. Not because enemies surround you, but because comfort waits within. Always. It watches, it studies, it adapts, and it speaks your language. It offers you reasons. It flatters your ego. It wears the mask of balance, rest, reward. You must know its face. You must name it every time it knocks. And you must return to stillness every time it shakes your hand. Stillness is not detachment. It is command. The man who stands still in chaos does not lack emotion. He has mastered expression. He does not lack thought. He has mastered timing. He does not lack ambition. He has mastered aim. Aim is not desire. Aim is alignment. Aim is the decision made once and lived 1,000 times. It is the reason you don't quit, the reason you say no, the reason you look in the mirror and see a man not ruled by comfort, but forged by clarity. Let others call it obsession. You call it structure. Let others call it sacrifice. You call it design. Let others call it unnatural. You call it necessary. Because you've seen what comfort creates. Delay, regret, softness. And you've chosen the opposite. Not just once, but every day. That is what makes you disciplined. Not intensity, not motivation, not punishment. Consistency without compromise. Action without applause. Weight without waste. That is how warriors are made. And now you are one. Not because you feel powerful, but because you no longer need to. Not because you win every battle, but because you show up to each one unchanged. Not because you are admired, but because you no longer seek to be. You do not walk like the others. You do not speak like the others. You do not hope like the others. You plan, you move, you execute. And in that silence, in that refusal, in that daily choice to sharpen rather than sleep, you become something comfort can never touch. You become free, not the freedom they advertise, not the freedom to indulge, the freedom to say no, the freedom to rise early when no one will see it, the freedom to train without celebration, the freedom to be misunderstood and unmoved, the freedom to walk away from what softens you. That is the highest freedom. That is discipline. That is war. And that is you, not weak. Just once attached to comfort. But no longer. You are done with softness. You are done with delay. You are done needing to feel ready. You are now who you decide to be. And that decision is no longer negotiable. Move forward. Hold form. Remain still. Strike once, and never look back.